Good morning, church. It's Good Friday. A thunderstorm has just rolled through here in Princeton, which seems appropriate, as it is a day of grief. We think about how much it cost God to redeem us because of the depth of our sin. But of course, in that, we're also reflecting today on the depth of God's love for us. So it's good for us to pause and today to read together part of Mark 15. I'm actually going to save the second half of Mark 15, the crucifixion and Jesus' death, for our Good Friday service tonight, which will be on Zoom. Kristen and Bob and Andrea will be reading those passages. So I'm just going to read the first half of Mark 15 this morning. I hope you can join us tonight around 7. If you need the details, they're either in the church email, you can reach out to me or the church, and one of us will let you know how to join that meeting. If not, I encourage you to take a quiet moment, perhaps by your own window, and read the rest of Mark 15 and reflect on Jesus' death for the sins of the world. This is Mark 15. I'll read verses 1 through 20. And as soon as it was morning, the chief priests held a consultation with the elders and scribes and the whole council. And they bound Jesus and led him away and delivered him over to Pilate. And Pilate asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" And he answered them, "You've said so." And the chief priests accused him of many things. And Pilate again asked him, "Have you no answer to make? See how many charges they bring against you." But Jesus made no further answer, so that Pilate was amazed. Now at the feast he used to release for them one prisoner for whom they asked. And among the rebels in prison who had committed murder in the insurrection, there was a man called Barabbas. And the crowd came up and began to ask Pilate to do as he usually did for them. And he answered them, saying, "Do you want me to release for you the king of the Jews?" For he perceived that it was out of envy that the chief priests had delivered him up. But the chief priests stirred up the crowd to have him release for them Barabbas instead. And Pilate again said to them, "Then what shall I do with the man you call the king of the Jews?" They cried out again, "Crucify him." And Pilate said to them, "Why? What evil has he done?" But they shouted all the more, "Crucify him." And so Pilate, wishing to satisfy the crowd, released for them Barabbas, and having scourged Jesus, he delivered him to be crucified. And the soldiers led him away inside the palace, that is, the governor's headquarters. They called together the whole battalion. They clothed him in a purple cloak, and twisting together a crown of thorns, they put it on him. And they began to salute him, "Hail, King of the Jews!" And they were striking his head with a reed and spitting on him and kneeling down in homage to him. And when they'd mocked him, they stripped him of the purple cloak and put his own clothes on him. And they led him out to crucify him. Something very twisted in this story, where just last Sunday, Jim was preaching in Mark 11, and the people were really saying, "Hosanna, here comes the king." And now at this point they're mocking him as a king. "Here, wear this crown, wear this purple robe, king." But what they don't realize, what neither of them really realized, is yes, he will be crucified. And yes, he is king. He's our crucified king. Who but Jesus would have thought of this? Who but Jesus would have done this? No one. And yet he has, out of his profound love for his people. Please continue to pray for one another and for our world.